What is up, guys? Welcome back to AllG, sometimes AllG'sReact. I'm Josh.
Sir Cash.
And today we're going to be doing a little bit of a reaction review on a Jubilee video. And it's black conservatives versus white liberals, the middle ground. We've done, I think, one middle ground before. Feminists versus men rights, I believe is what it's called.
Yeah.
These interest me because I like hearing the perspectives of different people. So we're going to jump in and then give our thoughts, stop, talk about certain things, so forth and so on.
Make middle ground with us.
I was chosen to read the following prompt. White Americans have way more advantages than black Americans.
I think I'm a rarity here.
It would seem so.
Do white Americans have more advantages because they're white, or do just white Americans have advantages because of historic factors? I think that people want to argue at the end of the day over whether it's because you're white or not. I think that the answer is because you're white in the past, and that's how it kind of carries over to today. You know, even in times of the United States history where black people tried to build wealth, you know, with the Tulsa riots and everything, where, that this wealth has been destroyed. And something that's upsetting to me is when conservatives talk about how we can't blame the past for what's happening in the present. That is true to some extent, but then in the next breath they'll talk about how important it is to have dual-parent households, how important it is to have a strong family, to have responsibility passed on from parent to child. And we've seen in the past that because of racial issues, that process has been severely disrupted.
The funny thing is that agreeing with all these things is when I did my research when I was younger, which arrived me to my standpoint of being a conservative, because I believed it was racist, Democrat, liberal ideologies and policies dating all the way back to the 1800s, all the way up to the 1960s, and then the purported big switch. But I think it was more so when Democrats decided to be a bit more cloak and dagger about their true opinions of black people and be more secretive and more, we want to help you by doing these things and seeing them as inferior. Affirmative action, welfare, all sorts of things that eventually ruin our culture in places where we are now.
So
but I want to get back to the history of it, because we're talking
I just want to make sure we're clear. Giving them money hurt them, right? Is that what you're saying?
Well, yes, giving them, because if your father's out of the home, that's when we give you the money. If you're living in this housing,
so then give them the money while the dad's
rent-free,
well, then give them the money while the dad's in the home.
If you're working this amount of hours and getting less than this amount of dollars, you're getting money.
You're throwing the baby.
Yes, it is incentivizing.
You're throwing the baby out with the bathwater.
I don't even know what that means in this scenario, because yes,
You're
you want
throwing-
to talk about throwing babies out with the
let me break this
bathwater?
down for
Margaret
you.
Sanger wanted to exterminate the black race because she thought they were weeds. So yeah, we can literally talk about throwing the baby out with the bathwater. That's what Margaret Sanger, that's what Democrat policies wanted to do to my people. So that's why I feel so strongly about it, because it is these policies that date back centuries that were built off of the death and poverty of my people.
Let's take a breath. So,
I'm breathing.
okay.
So a lot of babies aren't, but I am, sadly.
I don't know what that means. When I say throw the baby out with the bathwater, you want to completely get rid of welfare, okay? Or at least I don't want to put that on you, you haven't said that, but the conservative apparatus does, clearly. So, giving money to a group of people does not hurt them.
I mean, sure, if you're talking about a lottery, just take money. But
Yes.
there are strings attached to that money.
Take all
There
the
are
money.
strings attached
Give
to
them
that money.
millions. Make them all millionaires. I don't care. Giving money to black people does not hurt them.
And that has not happened, though. That has not happened.
What do you mean?
That has not happened.
No.
It hasn't been
You're saying
reparations. It hasn't been this
so
or that.
what
It has
you're
been
saying
a welfare program,
welfare was
Societies
designed.
Act, that was
Welfare
built
was
off of the idea of, hey, we get these families split up, we get these
so then
people
let them
living
keep
here.
the family together and keep all the money.
I mean,
There you
I
go.
guess so, but I guarantee you,
I guess
there's
so.
no way
Why
that
would you not advocate for that?
So, in your, I guess, research of like history of this country and everything, do you?
There was a lot that was said there.
A lot.
Yeah.
A lot.
I'm sort of familiar with Destiny. I've seen him on Tim Pool. I've seen him. He actually went on the Manosphere with those two dudes who now got canceled.
Oh, okay.
Yeah, he was on there before, except he had blue hair.
Mm-hmm. That's probably why I don't recognize him.
Yeah, because he has blue hair.
Because when you say Destiny and you say blue hair, I've seen him before.
Exactly.
But with blue hair.
Fresh and fit. Yeah. Fresh and fit.
So now I'm like, who's this guy?
One thing that I think that needs to be established is, what does it mean to be a liberal and what does it mean to be a conservative? There's no starting ground on what it means. Hey, I have conservative values. Well, I have liberal values.
Mm-hmm.
You guys are saying, well, this is what I agree. This is what I agree. You guys are all lumped in with that group. You guys are all lumped in with this group. Destiny obviously brought up the point of the Tulsa riots. Anytime black people bring wealth, get wealth, and it's coming, it's destroyed.
Yeah.
Generally, not generally, but yes, by a white culture, but it's not a white culture. It's a class culture. This is really classism all over again. Except you keep the poor people arguing about, well, you did this because you're white. Well, you did this. Didn't even really dive into the history of the race riot and how it sparked off and yada yada yada. We can go into the history of the Democrat Party or the Republican Party, even though the Republican Party had more I think 20 black senators I think they were senators, or I forgot the ones that's underneath a senator. It completely blew my mind.
Mm-hmm.
But anyways, it's still getting in. We're not getting into the weeds of kind of what does it mean to be a liberal and what does it mean to be a conservative. At the first part, that's the problem that I have, because somebody might have a different viewpoint that might not agree with what you would call quote unquote liberal policies. Then that makes you a conservative. It's a circular argument because I'm still trying to figure out what's a conservative and what's a liberal.
Right.
So yeah, I think that's the first problem that I have so far. Second of all, all these conversations are always going to be kind of like emotionally charged. This guy here with the I don't know, man. He looks like a redneck Hawaiian. When it came to we both know what it's like to have, or at least I can speak for myself, know what it's like to have parents on welfare.
Mm-hmm.
So yeah, the point of giving money, but it incentivizes women, or it's going to incentivize a group of women or a group of people to make sure that, hey, family structures are important, but we'll actually pay you if you don't have one.
So I believe that's going to be in place of policy, because I grew up on welfare, but I had both my parents in the house. So we're talking about an older time, though,
Right.
to where you could have both people in the house and still get welfare. And then as times change, we can go into, private prisons and all that type of stuff for there to be policy change to get that separation.
Yeah.
You see what I'm saying?
Yeah.
But you're still not going to stop a person who needs help from seeking out help.
True.
You see what I'm saying?
Yeah.
So the whole the food stamp, the welfare thing, the welfare argument to me is such a stupid one, because you can just basically sit back and say, okay, here's when the laws changed. You can go by state if you want to. You know what I'm saying? And to show, okay, this was changed because of this. Well, then you have this here. It used to be like this because, to be honest with you, welfare, white people are most people on welfare.
Yeah. Cause and effect.
You see what I'm saying?
Yeah. What's the cause and effect of it?
So you can. I really wish they wouldn't talk about the welfare thing, because it's kind of, if both of them done some research, you'd be like, oh, okay, you know what I'm saying? Like, this is actually a reason why this was changed because of this reason. You know what I'm saying?
Right.
So this guy here, I hate people who like try to speak fast.
Talk. Yeah, speed talk.
Speed talk, because it try to make you seem like you're trying to get all your point out.
It's actually more emotional talk. Even though he might be spitting facts, you can tell he's emotionally charged.
And he's not. And the thing about
he's not articulating.
Yeah, the main thing about this, I know I'm going to see, is half truths on both sides. You see what I'm saying? It's not going to be no whole truth. It's going to be half truth on both sides. So the real question is, like, you're basing your opinion based off these half truths. If you spit half truths and another person knows the other side of it, then they're going to know instantly that you're taking that. Remember what we said about the dudes with the flag or whatever? You're taking this just off of based off of an emotional thing, versus
what it actually is.
What it actually is.
Yeah.
All right.
In the 1880s or so, when we had our first black members of Congress, which were indeed Republicans, I think that was a great start for things. But obviously, we had terrible things that happened, like the Tulsa massacre, among black people being chased out of their homes by the KKK.
Sure.
All funded by the Democrat Party, all supported by the Democrat
Okay,
Party.
well, I need to stop you there. Can you attribute not to the party but to the ideology? Because I think when you think, regardless of whatever the party switch was, traditionally conservative values did not, like, that's more aligned with more racist policies in this country.
It's very difficult
Like
to compare 2020's conservatism to 1880's conservatism.
And pause it real quick. So
Oh, I was loving the one view.
that's what old dude just did. He did a half truth. He was like, well, I know kind of like what the Democrats did back in the day, but could you just not attribute it that? Because that's the party that he aligns with.
I would agree.
So he aligns with the Democrat Party. And whenever that truth came out about that, that was kind of like, hey, that's not what that flag means. That's not what the party means.
Right.
Hey, that was the old way. It's reimagined.
Yeah,
The party
so-
has been reimagined.
So, I'm going to say what you're saying is actually very, very true, but he also has some truth in what he's saying. He's saying, kill Republican or Democrat. We're talking about conservative and liberal. You see what I'm saying? Like, you can take it that way, as in, okay, all right, we can say that the Democrats was doing this. We can say the Republicans was doing this. But if you remove that party alignment, we're supposed to be looking at conservatism and liberalism. You know what I'm saying? We're supposed to be looking at those two.
Well, and it's weird because honestly, they should be on the same team. If you know more about what happened to my people and stuff like that, then why are you like low key against me? And vice versa. Hey, this person's advocating for you. You know, it's like, hey, you remember the Black Panthers and the White Panthers?
And that right there is where I think, like, when you get more, quote unquote, to the middle ground, that's where you get to that point where you're like, why are we?
Yeah,
Why are we at odds?
yeah.
You see what I'm saying? Like, why is that? So that right there is what I would say these conversations are supposed to get you to, is to that point. But they're taking people that's like far on this end of the spectrum, far on that end of the spectrum. You know what I'm saying? And trying to move them more towards this. But yeah, is that exactly like, why are you? This guy is advocating for there to be quote unquote more fairness for you. Why would you be going against him? Same way, why would you be going against him if he wants to conserve?
Well, this is who you vote for. That's why. You are the brain, and the thing that you vote for is the body. So I'm going against the whole body.
Man. The background kind of hit
I
it.
agree with the Supreme Court's decision to end affirmative action.
I think I'm not gonna start. Someone else can start. Sorry.
I think affirmative action has served its purpose. I think that it was necessary for a particular time, and I think that every black person knows how to get into college. I mean, you could pull out the names, the Oprah, the Oprah.
I just want to say I agree. I step on the ideal that certain things were needed for a particular amount of time, and then they can be done away with.
Come out of that Jim Crow.
Yeah, they can be done away with. So I actually kind of agree with her mindset with that one.
Yeah.
As too, I've seen it in the sense of like affirmative action taking away from other people who are minorities. Like I had a friend who was Asian and he in high school and he really wanted to go to MIT. That was his dream school. He interned there. He was super like prepared to go there and he didn't get in. And you can only assume that it was because of affirmative action because they have such a large Asian population that they want to admit other people.
Yeah,
Or
I was
he
going to
was
actually
trying to
argue
spy.
that it's more racist nowadays because it excludes so many Asian Americans from getting into universities who do deserve a spot and they can't get in because of affirmative action, which, again, like you were saying, was necessary at the time.
Yeah.
But now it's like anybody, if you have the skills to do it and you're in America, you can get in.
If you average white wealth and compare it to black wealth totals, white people as a whole have about 50 times greater wealth than black people as a whole per capita. So I just don't understand why you think affirmative
Because of capitalism.
action has accomplished its
That's
purpose.
what
I
I
don't
said.
see that.
Curious, why do you assume that just because there is a disparity means it's because of a racial issue?
What else would it be from?
I mean,
Upbringing, economic abilities.
Capitalism.
Desire to.
I mean,
So
zip
it
code
was
does
their
play a
fault.
lot. If you grow up in a
Capitalism.
neighborhood that experiences a lot of trauma, you're not as likely to do as well in school, which means you're.
Why did they grow up in a neighborhood that experiences a lot of trauma?
I mean, lots of people do.
Yes, but why specifically do more black people?
Something I think that this conversation illustrates is that like affirmative action is literally the very end of the line of a lot of different parts of a person's life. And by that point, trying to rectify all of the inequities that have existed, to try to remedy any of that at the very end with affirmative action, it might just be too broad a brush, and maybe we'd be better served focusing on the earlier issues than trying to throw a kid who maybe can barely read at a 6th grade level into a college to hope that that's the thing that fixes the problem with the anthem line.
I think affirmative action wasn't really supposed to like send kids to Harvard that weren't prepared to go to Harvard. I think that's quite a myth. In fact, I think those that have the qualities to get to Harvard were before affirmative action could just completely overlooked. Clarence.
That's wrong. That's wrong. On that whole Harvard thing, getting kids, yada yada yada. No. Where do you think Harvard gets its money from?
The people that
There's boosters. And
Yeah.
there's the government, right? Okay. The government regularly changes parties. You have Democrat presidents, Republican presidents, and so on and so forth. So generally, they're going to know, hey, what are the demographics of Harvard? Demographics of Harvard are not what you would consider mixed or cohesive, or there'd be a lot of stuff starting to come out about, hey, Harvard is, 90% white, 5% Asian, 2% Island Pacificer, and the rest other, a couple blacks up in there. They're going to be like, we're going to stop giving y'all money because it seems like you guys are targeting a certain type of race, or basically people who have money with backgrounds and things of that nature. So no. So definitely colleges are going to allow applicants based off of their racial diversity. That's always going to happen. From this point on, it's going to happen. Also, the other point that I wanted to hit on was, that guy said, I completely lost it. Oh man, I just completely lost
said
it. It was the dude before. I have to think about it again, but I completely lost
No, I'm
it.
talking about the disparities in wealth and stuff like that.
Yeah. Okay. Thank you. So the disparity in wealth. Okay. Well, how is wealth generated? When you can say, hey, why do white families have more money than black families? Okay. Well, he said capitalism. I'm going to expand on that. Well, it's called land. You know how much money or how wealth is transferred and setting up generational wealth? It's by land. If you have land, so think about it. If you have 50 acres, or you have 50 acres that your grandpa had, or your dad had the 50 acres, then your grandpa had that, and then his great grandpa had that. That land is always worth more money the further you get down the line. So if you have white families who have houses in the suburbs and they're setting up things for their kids of that nature, especially when you have things that black people didn't even know about, like insurance when it comes to life insurance. Hey, grandma just died, you got $150,000, yada yada yada. You're constantly setting up things, so information that black people don't know or was taken apart from us.
Now, so with that right there, if we throw it back, we have to contribute the fact that insurance companies may not have insured black people.
Exactly.
You see what I'm saying?
Yeah.
So while I get what the guy's trying to say, he's not saying the right things.
No.
Capitalism is the main reason why you have this disparity. Okay. What does Walmart do? Walmart goes and says, I throw money to the government. The government is going to allow me to build 5 Walmarts in the city. Okay? That's how so now they have all these businesses making all this money. You can't do that when you're like a mom and pop store.
Yeah.
You see what I'm saying?
You can't franchise like that.
You can't franchise like that. So even if you have people like Mexican people, black people, Asian people with these businesses, they can't franchise on that level. So then white people are going to go where, oh, I know Walmart has this. They have better distribution. They have better product. They have this. They have that. They have blah, 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 blah. You see what I'm saying? Like, you're never going to compete with that. That's what I mean. That's why I kept screaming capitalism. Like, y'all got to understand the way this capitalism thing works. That's how it goes down.
And also, if you look at, how are black people viewed in the world as far as like trying to set up something overseas and having their product shipped back here?
Right.
How are black men viewed in China? How are we viewed in India?
See, yeah, that right
how
there.
How are we viewed in, like, okay, well, hey, I want to open up a factory in China. You gotta send Tom over here. So Tom's got to be my liaison, or who runs the company.
Yeah, you gotta have a middleman.
Yeah,
let's go take a cut.
Yeah, so it's really more complex than just like the welfare talk that we're talking about. Nobody's even speaking about land.
Man, all right, let's go.
Thomas is like the perfect example. regardless of what you think about him. He was able to get to Harvard because of affirmative action, because it focused on finding people that were again like just overlooked for those.
But things ended up changing. It morphed into something else. So what started out as a good program of giving all black people or people with a lesser chance or lesser opportunity, it started out as that, and then it morphed. And I'm not sure who morphed it, but it morphed into, okay, so now we have to have one black, one Hispanic, one this, one that.
That's not how that works.
But hey, talk to the corporations, talk to the people who hire, talk to the board members who say we need to have a woman on the board, we need to have a black on the board, we need to have a Latina, a Latinx, whatever, on the board. So it morphed from helping us into now
Tokenization.
yes. So you have to have one of this, one of that, and
Diversity hire.
Well, when you start with a country where people only hire you if you're white, that's necessary. And I know that you said that it started good and then ended whatever. And I don't think that affirmative action was perfect by any measure, but we still see really, really bad inequality. So if you're going to get rid of affirmative action, what's the replacement?
meritocracy.
There's no meritocracy in
Yes,
this
there
country. You look at Elon Musk, he's destroying Twitter. There's no meritocracy. That's ridiculous.
Well, first thing I want to bounce back to is it's not a myth that there are like minorities that are being put into colleges that they're not ready for. If you look at a lot of these top universities, including Harvard, Yale, etc., you're going to see a lot of minorities on academic probation because they are being placed in universities that they are not ready for. They are not cut out for that just yet. And it even just makes sense if you look at how much they have to achieve in order to get there. Asian students on average have to score 450 points higher than a...
That could also be hate, though. It's just a possibility. If you have teachers who are like, you don't really belong here.
Yeah.
You know,
Wash you out.
Yeah, my friend's son should have been here. You know what I'm saying? That whole club, mentality. You see what I'm saying?
Yeah.
Could be very well be hate. So
you taking all the spots of all the good kids. We just brought you in here.
right. You see what I'm saying? Like people don't think about that side of it. You see what I'm saying? So they intentionally do things, and I've seen this happen within high school, not just with colleges. I'm talking about within high school. Oh, what are you doing here? You know what I'm saying? I want this done at this time. You know what I'm saying? While being way more laxed on everybody else with what they do.
Yeah.
A black student in order to get in the same university. So if you think of the universities that have courses, et cetera, that grade on a curve, you can only have so many people with an A, so many people with a B, etc. So that means that the bottom percentile is going to fail. Who is most likely, just based on logic, going to be the ones failing? It's going to be the people who didn't have the credentials to get there in the first place. And then I have to bounce back to.
I want to get you on that point, because I would posit that the people who are least likely to have good outcomes in an academic setting are those who have to work 2 jobs, are those who have to drive there from home because they can't afford a dorm, are those who have to go into crippling financial debt. These are and have other stresses in their life. They can't afford a doctor, they can't afford a dentist, they can't afford.
He's making a good point with this. We oftentimes overlook that like some people do struggle because they got into the school, but their parents can't put out no money for them to just study. You get what I'm saying? You actually got to work. You actually got different schedules. You actually got different things like that. So that is a good point that he's making with that right there.
Anything.
I had to do
so
that too, though.
Those are the
That's
people.
not just black people. It's not just.
But it's
If we're looking at
overwhelmingly.
straight numbers, there are more white people in poverty than black people.
If you look at the raw numbers, but if you
I don't know,
actually
what are the
understand
wrong
what you're talking
numbers?
about.
No
The
number
issue
is
is poverty
wrong.
in general, though. I don't think it's like who's in poverty. It's like poverty sucks. It
Maybe we
shouldn't
should make
matter
college
who's in it.
free, and maybe we want to have
If you have a
affirmative action
program-
wouldn't be that necessary.
It'll get even more ghetto.
I like that. He just went for
If you have a
the
program
Hail
that says
Mary
you are
to the left.
this is how we'll help you. That will overwhelmingly help black people at a far greater percentage than it will help white people.
Trump supports Black lives.
What type of question is that?
It's something to trigger the people who don't like Trump.
I don't get it.
It's not. I don't think it's a really relevant question.
It's not even
Because why does Donald Trump have to be brought into every single aspect of culture?
What? I don't
doesn't-
get it though.
It doesn't. It's not a. This isn't a relevant question.
I think that President Trump supports all lives. I think that he looks at all American citizens as equal. I don't see him doing anything that would make you feel like he does not support Black lives. That's, of course, going to lead into the conversation of Black Lives Matter, which was a movement and an organization with so much corruption. Donald Trump not supporting that organization doesn't mean that he doesn't support Black lives. It just means that he doesn't support the fraudulent organization that's stealing so much money from so many people to do absolutely nothing with it, nor does he support a destructive movement that is destroying cities, communities, lives, etc. So I don't see why someone would think that President Trump doesn't support Black lives.
I've heard him say he knows all the best black people. He has all the best black friends. I do support black people all the time. So sorry, that was a very bad impression. But I don't think Donald Trump wants bad things to happen to black people. So in that respect, I think he does support Black lives. But the other side of that is he's not really doing anything. He didn't do anything as president, certainly, to uplift black people.
The economy affects black people.
Yeah, I certainly disagree with that point. One of the biggest things I supported personally, well, yeah, we'll get into that one later. One of the biggest things he did is he secured permanent funding for HBCUs, one of the largest increases we ever saw for HBCUs, personally done by his administration, among many other things. The First Step Act, which, there's a lot of debate about whether it was really the best thing to do, but that was definitely a kiss of love to the black race. Freeing Alice Johnson for menial drug crimes she committed in the past that had her locked up. She did not get to see her family for years.
Yeah, but that's not like, okay, I did say I agree, but I agree in the sense that Donald Trump doesn't literally want bad things to happen to black people, like I think a lot of conservatives do. So I think that he just says the most, yeah, I do think that. I think he says the things that will get him elected. So I don't think that he has any personal grudges against certain, most people. He just says the most popular thing. So I think
when it comes to, we really wish people would get off this whole narrative that like the president does particular things. I watched a guy do a full complete breakdown of past 3 presidents, and he said things were moving like the economy. The economy moves in a way where there's going to be highs and lows, right? Mm-hmm. If you were elected during a high time, you're going to be looked at like some type of savior. You're right, right? Mm-hmm. You know what I'm saying? If you're elected during the low time, you're going to be looked at like some type of villain. Mm-hmm. It doesn't matter who would have been in office. Just like it won't matter who's in office this upcoming election, right? If things continue to get worse, that person's going to be a villain. You know what I'm saying? If the economy bounces back in some way, then that person's going to be the president. It will be a hero. Mm-hmm. It's really just going to be based off of the corporations, because the corporations are what's really running the country, and the business moves in which they make of how we're affected. Mm-hmm. So I hate when they do this. Like, it doesn't matter if it's Obama, Trump. It don't matter who it is. I hate when they do that. It's like, it's way more to that than just this person. That's why you said this is not really like a relevant question or whatever.
Yeah, it feels like a waste, because honestly, Trump is polarizing. Either love him or hate him,
right?
Whatever the case may be. And so, did Trump do things that were beneficial? Yeah. Has Trump? I guess this is one thing that I kind of get irritated with, is that people seem to have short-term memory about Donald Trump when it comes to like the black culture. You can go all throughout let's just say from '96 on through rap culture. You're gonna hear Donald Trump's name multiple times in rap culture. Niggas was trying to meet with him and get with him and have dinners with him and all this other stuff, whatever. I mean, hell, he won a medal with Rosa Parks at the Rainbow Coalition a long time ago. Has Trump done things that has Trump done positive and negatives? Yeah, but you know what? This really isn't relevant to the conversation, because you're just trying to. Oh, this is more of I can see it more of a clickbaity thing.
Yeah.
Hey, let's ask the Trump question.
It has to be,
and it's kind of like, hey, this is a. Once again, we're not speaking about anything concrete. All we're saying is a bunch of little affirmative action, well this and well that. It's just like this. There's no meat to the conversation right now.
For me, it would be, if you want to see who helped and who hurt any economy with, and I'm not going to just say them, but like their administration. You got to get into the policies and the laws and things like that.
What passed under their time?
Yeah, what passed underneath their time?
Yeah,
You see
what
I'm
passed underneath the Congress and what president signed it into law? That's really going to know. Okay,
that's
what happened.
That's how you know.
Yeah,
right there. Was this a up point or was this a down point?
Yeah, who was the president at that point in time?
Bingo. So yeah, whatever. We can just.
And like Ron DeSantis would be somebody that I think actually wants black people to be heard. So by that standard, yeah, Donald Trump supports Black lives by leaps and bounds.
You think Donald Trump says the most popular thing?
Yeah.
Really?
Yes.
So why do so many people hate him?
He got elected as president.
Yes, he did.
Yeah.
He didn't win the popular vote either time.
That's a
That's
liberal
what your side
talking
wants to say.
That's a liberal talking
I'm
point.
helping you here. I'm trying to see the logic in this. Obviously, he says things to be elected as a politician very similarly to how Joe Biden did, except Joe Biden actually has a history of racism.
If he said things that people didn't like, he wouldn't have been our president.
So you like everything that Donald Trump says? You think everything he says is popular?
I love a lot of the things he says. I think he's hilarious. When he said big water, that was one of my favorite quotes. Big water.
Water, big water, ocean water.
He has the funniest one-liners, so I love a lot of the things he says. As far as policy, he sucks, but...
I'm just shocked you're wearing a Hunter Biden hat. He likes a different kind of one line.
Oh, I know, conservatives love talking about his...
No, Coke. It's different. Coke,
This was just a roast
going to waste. Freeze drying could be your answer.
Yes, I mean,
there are a few different ways of
we
preserving
can't really
food.
be mad. Y'all put...
But, so...
Trump.
This is, once again... This is what you would call hypocrisy. You know, if you're wearing a Hunter Biden or Joe Biden, whatever hat, you have to go back to Joe Biden and what Joe Biden championed in the 90s with the 3 strikes law.
Oh, yeah.
Why do people tend to forget that? He's sitting up here talking about, you know, this and this and that, and, you know, these white people hurt black people, but you're wearing the hat of the man who made sure that black men, or excuse me, not black men, but a lot of black men plus other races of men were in jail. 3 strikes for minor crime laws, which his son openly does.
Which is crazy to me because, like, you could go after the Republicans, too, because it was mainly Republicans who were pushing the whole war on drugs situation. Yeah. You see what I'm saying?
Yeah.
Like, they were in it together.
Yeah.
They was in that together. You see what I'm saying?
Yeah, but once again, his hat is his tribe. His hat is his tribe. Well, he did this. That's not what he means, man. That was the 90s Joe Biden.
I mean, the reason why I don't give no slack about, like, his son or whatever is because y'all niggas put a cokehead in the presidency. What was Bush? What was Bush Jr.? He was a cokehead. He was literally a cokehead. And y'all put him in the driver's seat in this mug. You know what I'm saying? Like, this is just the son of someone who's in the driver's seat. Like, he in the back seat. Y'all put the cokehead in the driver's seat. That's why I don't give no slack about that, because I always go back. Like you said, I go back. Y'all elected him. And then y'all gas was like almost $8 a gallon and you mad. So...
is less of the issue and more so the people that support him, like Die Hard. They facilitate that kind of like hate, I think, for a lot of people, not just black people, but like.
I mean, this man took out like a full page in a newspaper calling for the public execution of 5 black kids. His hotels, all of his businesses have rampant history of denying black people apartments or whatever. So
I forgot about that. I should not have stepped forward.
Look, I mean, Donald Trump cares about Donald Trump, so I don't think he really cares about anyone. I guess unless you're like super rich or whatever.
There you go.
Issues,
so hold on. There you go. The rich only really care about the other rich.
So
classism, like you said.
Exactly. So this is a classism conversation. So it's like the plebs. Hey, keep them little plebs keep arguing about something that, dude, you ain't. Y'all worried about Donald Trump, dude. You ain't never meeting him. You ain't never catching up to him.
The rich only care about the other rich. You see, that's the truth.
Whether it's the shithole countries comment, the plethora of comments he made about Mexican people, the comments he made about Muslims, the idea that Trump cares at all about some particular racial minority, I think is a little bit silly. I think Trump will say whatever he needs to say to rile up his base and to get elected.
I don't necessarily think those statements come from a place of hatred. I don't think he was ever saying specifically, oh, if you pray 5 times a day towards the east or towards Mecca based on wherever you are, you're a bad person. I think he was saying if you like to fly planes into towers or behead people or throw people off of buildings, maybe you're not the most virtuous person out there.
I supported Trump because he made the economy good, and so the economy then impacted black people, white people, Latino people. It impacted everybody. But Trump, he didn't think specifically, I don't think, about black people. He thought about himself, and he thought about how can I make America great for me. And making and I thought, you know what? I'm gonna go with this guy. And the reason I'm gonna go with this guy is because if he can make America great and he can make it rise for everybody, I'm gonna benefit from that. So that's why I went, and that's why I voted for him. That's why I supported him.
How does that specifically benefit black?
I get that, and a lot of people will probably go with that right there, that mentality. Like, if you make something great, then I'm gonna benefit. You know what I'm saying? And I heard that actually a lot because as someone who was in welding at that time and stuff like that. Oh man, he's gonna open up all the pipelines. It's gonna be work. It's gonna be this. It's gonna be that. Boo boo boo. My counter to it was, I'm like, I get it, and at the same time though, you opening up a space for only like 2,000 people to have work. You know, you know what I'm saying? Like, you can't pick a person based off that, because then you can easily get like a Hitler. Oh, this benefits me, so I'll go with this. You see what I'm saying? Like, because this benefits me. But the whole time they could have their own. And this is not about Donald Trump. This is about electing leaders in general. When you think from that mentality, that person can have a whole thing they got planned out to do that could be devastating. But you're picking that person just because, oh, well, you know, because I'm going to get a check.
Yeah. Yeah, that makes sense.
You see what I'm saying?
Yeah.
But then you got 100,000 other people over here suffering. So it's supposed to be what's best for everyone, while there'll still be people that's going to be left behind. We're trying to fit the majority of people in.
You need to pick that 80-20 president.
The 80-20 rule. That's what you need right there. We don't need, 20-80 rule. We need an 80-20 rule.
People. Again, he's a businessman, but he's also a racist businessman, and like well documented. So like
and Biden's not. Biden's not.
Yes,
he got him.
He stuttered, and let's not even forget that this wasn't Trump versus Biden when Trump got in. This was Trump versus Hillary Clinton.
Yeah, which she was the worst
possible person that she could pick.
Yeah.
Black people wasn't rocking with that. Black people was like, you know what? I'd rather rock with Trump than I would rock with Hillary Clinton. So stop making so I don't like how certain people seem to forget who did Donald Trump originally go against.
Yeah.
What were the two choices? It was Trump or Hillary. Yeah. Well, we know about her, and we ain't rocking with her.
We saw what her husband did.
Yeah.
You see what I'm saying?
Yeah.
Like, yeah. Like, y'all are trying to make this about them two. This is not about them.
It's not about. Yeah, we can talk about that after the next election. We're talking about how did Trump become president? Who did he go against? And they all seem to have amnesia because he ain't wearing no I stand with her Hillary hat.
See, yeah, everyone's trying to go with the re-election term versus how he originally got in, which was against Hillary. Yeah, no, you're absolutely right about that.
And Bill, so that's regardless of the point.
No, why did you dismiss that so quick?
Well, actually, okay, so I haven't.
He wanted them to be killed, executed, just because they were black.
That story.
And he bars people from
right past that crime bill,
or like renting apartments
like
from all his like stupid Trump towers. I
think Trump at that point was, like many people in this room, particularly liberals, a victim of the media. I think he was scared. I think he was ashamed of the things that he heard in the news and wanted to take action himself as a businessman, not as a racist.
Why are you infantilizing him?
I don't like, also real quick, because people keep bringing up this comparison to the '93 crime bill from Biden. that crime bill, this was at the height of like violent crime and the crack epidemic in the United States. The Congressional Black Caucus supported that crime bill. Everybody in the United States supported that crime bill. The idea that that crime bill was like some racist piece of legislation that Biden was just wheeling out because he hates black people, and that's somehow comparable to the Donald Trump's treatment of the Central Park Five that were already exonerated. That wasn't a victim of the media. The media said they were done. They were exonerated in court. They weren't there.
As I understand it, the prosecutor of the five, he was a black guy, and so in being a black guy, he went and he looked at all the evidence and said these guys are guilty.
Black people can also be racist against other black people.
Or just make mistakes.
So if anybody does anything you disagree,
I didn't know about the Black Caucuses being in support of that bill.
It wouldn't surprise me. You know why it wouldn't surprise me? Okay, so we're gonna have the war on drugs and all that other stuff, whatever. At the end of the day, all these bills, and if you want to stay in Congress, it all depends on who you rub shoulders with and who the donors are. Hey, if you don't support this crime bill, then you are going to look like that you support crime.
That's true.
So you can easily say, so I can flip that on its head, Destiny. I could easily say, oh, okay, well, do you think that anybody in Congress is ever pressured into agreeing with a bill that they might not necessarily want to pass, AOC, might not want to pass, but inevitably will sign it based off of, well, hey, if you want to be in Congress, you're going to sign this. Because who's in charge of the Black Caucus? Once again, who was that person friends with? Who are their donors? Yada, yada, yada. There's way more things than just say, well, these people agreed with that, so that's final. No, there's way more nuances when it comes to the government and when it comes to people in Congress, because it all goes based off of funding. Because if you vote for something like if you voted against the Iraq war or the war on terrorism, then you was looked at as a traitor to your country.
That's true. So, but his point still stands to pull the spotlight off the crime bill off of Biden.
Yeah,
because it goes for it was everybody that was.
It's like hey, we're all in on
everyone was in on that.
Yeah.
So,
but who was also a beneficiary of the private prisons. Once again, we would have to look into it, but I understand.
We have to look into it, yeah. But you're right. If you were against the war on terrorism, you were looked at as like a traitor. Like you
9/11 just happened. What are you talking about?
Yeah.
Hey, man, I don't think we should go into there until we get some more evidence. No, they have weapons of mass destruction. We got to go. We got to do all this. I don't know. Here comes a Patriot Act and yada yada yada. Like, well, nah. So there was only one person voted against it, and I think it was Ron Paul. Yeah, Ron Paul.
Yeah.
So, but really everybody else. So all Republicans and Democrats were all locked in joint step. But now,
even if you didn't agree with
you had to vote
crime
for
bill,
it.
or the other, it was like, hey, see, this is the problem I have with what they do. It's too much wheeling and dealing.
Yeah.
So they'll be like, no, we're against it. Oh well, now it's locked up. You know what I'm saying? We gotta get this voted on. We gotta get this going, and then they'll be like, all right, so look. You'll get funding for this if you vote on this bill.
Oh, yeah, absolutely.
You hear what I'm saying?
Hey, you want that bridge built? Hey, man, we just need you to do all that stuff. And once again...
And that right there is the thing I hate about it. Because I'm like, if you're really against it, be against it.
Yeah, but so the way bills are passed, little PSA for those who don't know, the way bills are passed is there's always things put into it. You can't just vote on one thing only like you see in your local elections. Hey, want to have money for the roads, that's that and that. That's not how Congress works. They always put something else in there, and they always got to sneak something else into the what you would call the package. That recent fire that just happened in Maui, well, they needed money, but you know what they attached to that? They attached Ukraine money to that. So if you didn't want to give money to Ukraine, but you wanted to do to Hawaii, you couldn't separate those. So that's how things are always installed. And so once again, that's why it's just like it goes into who's bringing the drugs in? How is the drugs getting past our Coast Guard?
Well, we can't talk about that. We can't talk about that.
We ain't talking about how the drugs got in, but we can talk about the effect of it.
Yeah, we can't talk about that.
Regards
behind axing or trying to axe DACA, where these people were registered with the federal government, they were in school, they were doing everything that they needed to do. They had no home elsewhere. They were brought into this country as minors. Like, what's the explanation for that?
I think that requires more nuance. Like I mentioned before, I think there were some people feeding him bad policy advice, thinking, "Oh, this will be really good for your base," and he's doing a lot as a president.
That's okay. That's okay if we.
I kind of agree with the young black guy right here. I've said it before. Like Donald Trump says, like some stupid stuff, but I used to call him rich ignorant.
Yeah.
You know how like rich people.
I can fix this real quick.
Like,
make it happen.
You know how like rich people are ignorant to certain things?
Yeah.
Like they're just ignorant to it because they
It's
never
not his
had to
class
deal
anymore.
with it. Yeah, like they have to. They don't never have to deal. Like Donald Trump ain't never been no immigrant. You know what I'm saying? He doesn't know the ins and outs of trying to get into the country and you know become a citizen and all that type of stuff. So someone can easily be like, well, this is what's happening, boo boo blah blah, and he has to take that information as truth because he don't know. So I used to say he was rich ignorant for a lot of things he used to say because like that's when you catch, you know, when calls get leaked with other rich people and stuff, they say ignorant stuff.
Yeah.
But they're rich, so they don't comprehend things from that other perspective.
He's rich and he's older, so he's a part of a whole completely different generation. And once again, you know, the kind of the nerdy white guy. Sorry, I'm not looking at his name. He keeps on. This is the problem when people say you have TDS, Trump derangement syndrome. When you have to look at, I can see clearly everything that's wrong with this guy Trump, but you got extremely quiet when Biden was on TV. So that's what Biden is so famously known for, was about, you know, the crime bill. Even though it might have had support from everybody else, but Biden wanted to make sure, he said, I wrote the crime bill. He wanted to make sure that, hey, that crime bill that everybody else voted for, it came from me. So whenever she pointed that out, he was just kind of like, you know, and he's like, well, what about Trump? So it's like, that's why this whole bringing up of Trump is irrelevant, because we can point to any politician that you like, from the guy who's wearing the hat on his head, from everybody who you voted for. We can easily point out this stuff. That's why it's kind of like, next.
Yeah.
And you guys are devoting a whole lot of time to this, ironically.
It is very
feel that way.
So
the path forward to solving illegal immigration starts with amnesty for everybody here. The reality is there's some 10 to 15 million illegal immigrants here. We're not deporting them all.
With the people who are already here, that's a lot more of a messy, nuanced conversation. But as far as people coming in, I do think we need stronger borders and actual vetting happening.
And I just want to say, in Ronald Reagan's day, he was given the promise. He said, look, if you go ahead and you pass this particular bill, we'll give these people amnesty and we're done. And it didn't happen. We didn't. Illegal immigration continued even after Reagan already said we will give these people amnesty.
There's been a
So
bunch
that's
of
why we get
presidents
a
who's trying to do the amnesty thing.
Yeah, matter of fact, you had a super majority Democratic Party. It was when Barack Obama got elected, dude. It was a super majority, which means that they could have passed anything they wanted and it would have got signed. Republicans couldn't have stopped it at all. So, stop with this whole, everybody.
Yeah,
no.
they tried the amnesty thing. It didn't happen during his time.
Yeah, it's not going to happen.
Happen.
That's what I feel like, that the people who might be considered themselves Democrats often fall for that same lie. Oh, amnesty's going to happen. Amnesty's going to happen. Hey, Democrat, the leaders are like, hey, vote for us. We'll make sure you get amnesty. It's not going to happen. You know why? Because we need to use this trick. We need to use this trick and pony for the next election to make sure we still get elected. Hey, we're going to get it done. Yeah. We just need a super majority next time. We need that. That's why always when the House, the Senate, and the presidency are never aligned. Sometimes it's all aligned, and everything that the party says they're going to do, they never do it. And then you know what happens halfway through the election cycle? Then one of them gets switched. So now it's not aligned. So now I got the Congress and I got the presidency, but I ain't got the Senate, or vice versa. So it's just like it's a game. So to even bring that up, of thinking like, hey, if let's just say the Democrat Party's greatest president ever, Obama, didn't get it done, it's not happening.
It's not happening. And they actually went into deep dive of why that was never going to happen, which was because you can deport your workers and not have to pay them a certain amount of money. You see what I'm saying? Mm-hmm. So when they start looking at, okay, so where are these workers going? They're going to factories. They're going to farms. They're going to these different places. Most of them owned by Republicans. Why would you give up the system to be like, hey, man, we need to deport these people so we ain't got to pay them, and then we can get some new ones in and feed them the same. You see what I'm saying? Yeah. You finna mess up your whole system by giving everybody amnesty. Yeah. That's not finna happen. Get out of here. Get out of here.
In a Democratic, not a Democratic household, but kind of apolitical, but everybody was Democrat. And then I got a job. And when I got a job and I saw all the taxes come out and I started looking to the left and to the right and going, oh, my money's whittling away over here. And I said, you know what? After Reagan, I'm just going to go ahead and declare myself a Republican, and I've been a Republican ever since.
My mom is pretty liberal. She
Has your
married my
taxes
stepdad
changed?
when I was 16 in high school, and he's super conservative. Like,
Niggas
loves
is
Trump,
both gonna
diehard
tax
Trump
you.
fan. And they had a lot of like back and forth, hearing the two sides, like people who are such polar opposites, just like argue all the time about stuff. Seeing that there's a lot of similarities in both sides, like the far radical left and the far radical right, they have a lot of
Someone's saying
similarities.
it.
They just don't want to come and like see it.
I started off actually kind of similar to you. I went to a Jesuit high school. I grew up very conservative. My mom is Cuban, so ride or die Bush supporter, who is now a ride or die Trump supporter. I think the point of my life when I was the most like libertarian was probably the lowest point of my life financially. And I think it's because something that conservatives do really well is they make you feel like you can always like succeed as long as you work hard enough. And that's something that progressives and liberals suck at. That you're a victim of systemic racism, you're black so you're going to be discriminated against, you're a woman so nobody's going to care about your feelings, et cetera, et cetera, et cetera. Whereas Republicans will tell you, listen, if you work hard, you can do whatever you want, like just as long as you're willing to put in the work. And I felt that way up to the moment where I was losing my house, where I had an ex-girlfriend that was pregnant, where I had been fired from my previous job. There was a whole bunch of horrible stuff going on in my life, and I very, very luckily got into online content creation. And from there, as I started to make more money, I started to pay more taxes. When I get older and I look at taxes that come out of my paycheck, I care a little bit, but it was just so funny to me that back when I was making $15,000, $20,000 a year, I'm like, I gotta vote for the lower tax bracket, blah, blah, blah. Like, I'm barely paying any taxes anyways. And, now that I'm older, like, if the government wants to take, a few, 10, 20, whatever, how many more $1,000 out.
You just said you worked hard.
I did, but I got very, very, very lucky doing so. Very lucky.
You think it's just luck?
It's not just...
I don't know if you heard what I heard, but it sounds like he just found a grift. He's like, well, I have a computer. She just really just pointed it out. He had all these circumstances that came against him, and it's not even a conservative point of view. There's either you're gonna work or you're not. Are there rich liberals? Absolutely, who work hard. Are there rich Republicans or conservatives who work hard? Absolutely.
Mm-hmm.
But he just said, I found something that I'm good at and I'm going to do. He could be grifting, could not, because I know in online content creation, some women use the content to create stuff, and some guys do too. What can rile another base up? Hey, if I stand against this party and maybe get a few hits here and there or whatever, hey, I might blow up or whatever.
I think I'm going to go with more so, like sometimes you don't find what you're actually good at until later.
Mm-hmm.
I'm going to go with that because one of my big pet peeves against the whole extreme conservative thought process is if you just work hard, things are going to be great for you.
See, that's one thing that I don't like. Why does the conservatives have that coin? For me, that's biblical. The Bible says if you don't work, you don't eat.
You don't work, you don't eat. But my thing is, you can put all these brick walls in the way, and they'll give you a pickaxe, right?
Mm-hmm.
And you can sit there and work, and you're wondering, like, man, okay, I got through the first wall. Why is everything slowing down, right? Oh, you're just not working hard enough. You need to work hard enough, right? You keep working. You get through the second wall. Now you get the third wall.
Mm-hmm.
You're not getting anywhere.
Mm-hmm.
Nowhere at all. This wall's mixed with metal. Pickaxe ain't finna work. See, the idea is as long as you just keep doing the same thing, you just need to do it harder.
Oh, no.
The problem is there is no adaptation. You have to learn to adapt. You have to learn to use different tools. You have to gain different skills. You see what I'm saying?
Absolutely.
The work hard enough mentality, just working hard, it doesn't work for everything.
Yeah.
If you're going to dig a ditch and you just work hard digging a ditch, you're probably going to dig a pretty good ditch. But there's other things where that's not the case. That's been the coined phrase that has messed up many generations because they've never been given the say, hey, man, you need to learn how to adapt. Okay?
Yeah, and I feel like that comes from the Great Depression era.
I would have to agree with you there. I think that's something
and that's just been passed on.
It just
pick yourself up by your bootstraps.
Yep, and they just kept passing it.
I got it done. Well, the generations have changed, and you still have that same mentality. I really don't like this job. You just got to work harder.
Hey,
Find a different job.
I've seen it on jobs. Like, hey man, why don't we fly that up with a crane? What? Why would you do that? Just pull it up. You know what I'm saying? I had to pull it up in my day. Why don't you? I'm like, but the crane operator ain't doing nothing, and it get up here faster, and say, no, you need to just that right there is the thing. You can sometimes be working and being like, nigga, why am I not? You know what I'm saying? Like, why am I not? And then you find something that you're actually good at, and then that's why, like, the other part of what he was saying was the money's not that big of a deal. That's why he doesn't care about that, the taxes part. You see what I'm saying? Because I was at this point, my life is actually pretty good at this point here. Y'all want to take more money? I don't care. You see what I'm saying? I don't care about that. Now, will he have that same mentality if this starts going bad? Well, probably not. It'd probably be a little different. I need more of my money. You know what I'm saying? Like, it's all situational.
If your resources or not if your income changed, you know, like, because some people taxes is a lot, and really that's a horrible mindset to have. Like, yeah, I'm doing all right. You can have more money because this money's going to go to yada yada yada. Obviously, it's not. It's not.
That's the conversation that needs to be had right here.
Yeah, because honestly, no.
The allocation of your tax money. I would love to see
from the black conservative to the white liberal. Y'all both should be like, where in the heck is the money going?
Exactly. And see, like the old lady, she just was like, man, all this tax money, and then she just chose a party and just been ride and die with it for like a long time.
Yeah, but your taxes ain't changed. They're taking your money and they're taking Destiny's money and they're sending it to the same place.
Yep. Exactly. So for me, with the whole work hard thing, is like, we, a new generation, need to always incorporate the fact that you need to work hard, but you also need to be able to adapt. Go grab that jackhammer. Forget that pickaxe. You see what I'm saying? You need to change these things to be able to continue to move forward. Because what it actually ends up doing, just to work hard, is if you don't actually get to the point that you dream that you'll be at, you'll settle. You'll just instantly settle there. And that's just basically saying how far your hard work will take you is still renting a home at 50 years old. You know what I'm saying? Stuff like that.
Yeah.
I personally think both sides tend to be racist in different ways. I don't think the government is on the side of the people in general, and that's just me being, a radical.
When I was young, I used to jump for joy and say, "Oh yeah, Obama, black president, that's so amazing. He's
not
the same
black.
color as me." But when
Reparations are necessary.
Oh, finally, good question.
When we talk about reparations, I think that doing reparations in the way that a lot of people think of it, where we just give it to black people, I'm not an expert on this, but I think it would be more income-based, and that in itself, like I said earlier, would disproportionately benefit black people, because if you recognize that they are disproportionately affected by a systemic injustice, then doing it on like a class level would uplift proportionally more black people than white people. Or any other race.
Yeah, I think like mostly like black GIs that were left out of like the New Deal, for instance, that to be able to come back and as a white American, as a white veteran, to get a home loan and then build that generational wealth, you could not get that as a black American. So there needs to be, I think, reparations. I don't care really what form it comes from. I think free healthcare, free college, so that everyone has like an equal opportunity to to educate them.
I got a better system. No college.
No taxes. I don't want taxes.
We talked about that. Family. We talked about that.
Yeah.
No taxes.
No taxes.
Well, taxes.
I don't want your health care. I don't want your colleges, because you're not going to try to retrain me, or you're not going to try to indoctrinate me to go back on something. No, I'm not going to pay you no money, because was the work done? Yes. Was I paid? No. Therefore, I'm not paying you.
Yeah. No taxes. We talked about that. No taxes. In fact, I'll get that video out for you guys, because we talk about that no tax thing. I forgot about that GI Bill, though. I forgot that those people who weren't, quote unquote, not black people, minorities weren't able to cash in on that. And that is kind of jacked up, especially when you put that work forward. Just like you said, you put the work forward, but you're not getting the benefits of it. I think that is kind of jacked up. Me personally, I can help you with your college thing though. What if we did away with all colleges and we use high school and we use school in general to better educate the upcoming generations, so you can actually get more of a college education, K through 12. I think that'd just be so much better.
Yeah.
So much better than what school is now. But college is also a money game, so.
Yeah, but also it's more of a, you know, you're going to have those areas of specialties.
Yeah.
You know, you're going to have your medicals, your STEMs, your
absolutely.
sciences.
Just kind of like how you have like performing arts schools and you have magnet schools and stuff like that. They focus on particular things. It's the same exact thing. It's just we can just do away with that whole system and just have a better educated K through 12. That way, when you come out into the world, if you want to go, your 10th grade, you want to take economics class, take economics class.
Yeah.
You see what I'm saying? But they won't do that because college is actually a money game as well.
Yeah.
We're almost through this.
Themselves to build a better life for themselves. So it's sort of like, and I think Germany is also a perfect model to follow. You know, by issuing first of all a formal apology, which we haven't even done that, but also just like donating to like different funds and just I think a more equitable society striving for that is reparations in and of itself.
I have no problems with reparations if they had happened initially during this like slavery or the civil rights movement or any of that, but to try and do that now logistically just doesn't really make any sense. And like, where would this money come from? Like,
that would have been the worst time to do it because they would have just stole the money back.
Yeah.
You have to understand that there's a certain point in which you should. I'm not saying it should be done now, in forms of giving someone something, but I'm just saying the same way we talked about before when like black people was like, "Oh, free," you know what I'm saying, and they just taking the paper like, "No, you're not."
Yeah. And
now your slave catcher got you.
Yeah.
Same thing would happen. They would have just took the money back.
Oh yeah, if a huge black population all of a sudden got a wealth of money, it would have been another civil war. Black people would have had to come together and we were like, hey, we got to buy some tanks and stuff. We got to defend ourselves.
We got to defend ourselves.
These white folks about to come take our stuff.
Yep. I call it the special complex. I want to be special. I feel like I impacted something. I did something.
Well, I gotta say, this is a shock. I never expected all four of you to just come forward and admit it, but you know what? I'm happy with these results.
I just think it's a lot of people, I guess, people, of the left, whatever, can kind of fall into that trap of thinking that, black people as a monolith need to be saved as a whole.
I have no shame about it. I have a savior complex as an older brother, and I will save you whether you like it or not. So that's just me.
Well, it's definitely not, because a lot of us are really just exhausted of being viewed as our skin color. Because when you have this mindset that you need to save black people and we're just sitting here minding our own business and living our lives the way we want to, I don't know why it is that people feel this immense pressure to be so apologetic and just always trying to cater and coddle to black people when we just want to be treated like everybody else. We're equal for a reason.
I think especially recently with a lot of riot stuff that's gone on or protest stuff that's gone on, people on the left tend to infantilize a lot of different types of protesters, and especially even talking to some of the other black content creators I do content with, when you hear a lot of progressives come out and say, well, they don't have a choice but to riot or break into this store, or, well, they're stealing, these electronics or shoes for good reasons, you just don't realize it. I think a lot of people kind of look both ways, and it's a little bit weird that there's such a complex on the left to excuse like every single possible negative behavior from somebody, as long as they're a skin color that you're kind of in charge of protecting.
I find that very offensive.
Yeah.
I find it extremely, it upsets me to hear that, because we're just like you. We just have a different skin color, and to hear that you have to help me is offensive to me. I can do it on my own.
Well, we have to break down sometimes why these riots happen. MLK once said that riots are the voice of the unheard. So if you are to address the problem and stop the riots, you have to address the underlying inequality that has historically been pervasive. Even if you as individual people are doing fine and you don't want anybody else to get in the way of that, that's cool, and I'm not going to be the one to get in the way. But the disparities are undeniable.
So if you take pride in having like a white savior complex, what is it that you think that you're doing to save black people, and what is it that you think that you're saving black people from?
I am trying to make the world a better place through whatever means I can, and
But you're doing it on the backs of us.
I wouldn't say so.
Yeah, I actually do. I feel like you want to be a savior for, and you're using me to make yourself feel good. That's what I'm hearing.
How am I hurting you?
You're not letting me have my own voice. You're not letting me speak.
How? You're speaking now?
No,
You're cutting her off.
Yeah.
Well, I feel like I have to.
Yeah. Well, what's happening? I mean, you're speaking right now. You're speaking right now in this particular setting. But what you're saying is, like, you took it back to riots and so forth, and it makes it seem like the only way that we as black people can have a voice is by riots, and then you need to come along and you need to say, okay, poor little black child, let me help you, let me help you. That's offensive to me, and I feel like you're making yourself feel good about trying to help us in a
I also think that, like, when we talk about damage, I think especially when it comes to a lot of the shoplifting stuff that's going on in certain cities, you get a lot of white people that live in nice suburbs saying things like shoplifting is no big deal, that's fine, and then you'll catch YouTube videos of them later on being in a Walgreens, in like a shoddy neighborhood, and they're like, man, why is the deodorant behind a locked case? It's very easy to sit behind a gated community and say, oh, well, you know, it's not a big deal, you know. They steal because they have to. Riots are the language of the unheard. I think people haven't read the full context of that quote. When MLK was saying riots were the language of the unheard, you need to address the underlying condition. He wasn't condoning the rioting. He was just understanding it.
Obviously, there are a bunch of white people that feel they need to be a savior, but I think there's a difference between helping and saving. Like, I don't think I will need to save black people, but I would tremendously love to help and make sure everyone has like equal outcome, or not equal outcome, but at least equal opportunity, which in my opinion I feel we do not have in this country.
This is awkward. Hi guys. So I didn't step forward just because I don't want to broad brush all white liberals as having a white savior complex. I have experienced white liberals who do have that, and they're very unpleasant people. But I don't think every single white person who's a liberal or who is an activist for BLM or any of those things necessarily has a white savior complex. I think that there's a lot of white people who genuinely think that black people are oppressed, and they...
Well, I'll cut it here. It's almost the end anyway, about 4 minutes. I always called it I want to be special. Complex is all it is if I do something, that means I've done something that actually matters in the broader reaches of my own personal life.
Yeah.
And I feel that with not just this, but I've talked about it before about, like, you know, different religions and different beliefs and stuff like that, is I'm special. Me. What I believe is special. It's different than what they believe. So it all falls into that with me. Like, there are some white people who are like, I just want to help, right? Or even not just help, there's some who just say, I just want to understand. You know what I mean? Which to me is good enough for me, because understanding always leads to better actions later on down the road. But then you do have those who are like, man, I have to save these people.
Well, the dude in the stupid hat, he just got called out, and he's like, I don't care what you say. Shut up, black woman. I'm speaking for you. I gotta speak over you. Okay? He literally just proved why. It's like, we're talking about you.
Yeah.
No. Be quiet. You're beneath me. You're black, okay? Trust me.
They'll listen to me.
Yeah, they'll listen to me.
They'll listen to me.
Yeah. I'm a big brother. I just gotta protect somebody.
I gotta protect somebody. No,
we got homies in the hood who take care of you.
Bro, like, no, like, that's what I mean by trying to just be special. Like, you don't need to be special.
Yeah, you can tell he's lost. He's so lost.
You know, I think, like, when it comes to, like, people like Bernie Sanders and stuff, like, Bernie Sanders got the respect he got because he was on the front lines during this, you know, civil rights movement. You know what I mean? But it isn't enough, even. Think about how much he's fought and fought. And now he's super old.
And he's given up. A lot of his bases left him because they're like, well, you were supposed to be ride or die, and you ended up voting for the guy who categorically cheated you out of an election. And you didn't stand up against him. You're like, no, you told us all to support that guy. That guy stands against whatever you say. So now we're looking at you like, man, you was fake.
Yeah.
Even if you had good intentions, like, no.
Yeah. No, I mean, I'm just saying, That's all I really got to say. Well, I'll break this up because I know it's just kind of long. You got anything else?
Oh man, it's more of it's classism. You know, really at the end of the day, slavery, reparations can be paid. We can find something that happens, or we can find some paperwork.
Mm-hmm.
We can do some digging. We can if we can give Iran and Iraq and Ukraine and all these other countries all this money. Hey, you did something for us. Here's a repayment. Don't forget Obama dropped some millions cash on Iran before he got out of office. Like, oh yeah, we had this money. We had to pay y'all back. We dropped cash on y'all.
Yeah.
Big old out of cargo planes. If they can do that, they can find a way to be like, we need to get some lineage. We need to get some lineage going and yada yada yada, and don't pay taxes. That's the best. That's we would save way more money not paying taxes.
Save so much.
I don't want your health care.
Me neither. I don't want that. I believe if you don't pay taxes, you'll work harder because you'll get to keep more of your money.
Everything is yours.
Yeah,
Everything.
and then you can actually start closing that gap of disparity by catching up by doing that. So I agree with you. No taxes. Anyway, that's all I got. I'm Nixon.
I'm Sir Cash.
And we out.